So we are now live, just waiting for people to be logging in, which is what's happening at the moment in the background.
Brilliant stuff.
So welcome everybody who is logging in currently. We just give it a moment for everybody to get fired up. So we'll be starting imminently. Hope you've all got drinks ready for the party.
I've got mine.
Excellent.
Not sure if tap water counts really, does it?
It all counts. So numbers joining at the moment. Just going to leave it just about 30 seconds for anybody who's an attendee just waiting. We're just waiting to make sure maximum numbers get on the webinar. Thanks all for who've joined already. And we'll be starting in just a few seconds. What you will see in front of you is an array of panelists. Very grateful to all of them, and I'll do a formal introduction and welcome in a moment. But I think we shall kick off the proceedings because I'm sure people have a busy afternoon. So, Nikki?
Yes, so
we
are
live.
Woohoo!
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
So some canned applause for everybody. Thanks ever so much. Let's get this party started. Welcome everybody. I'm Nick Boothroyd, one of the founders of Naturally Talented Me. And this is my co-founder, Nikki Mears, who'll be waving at you. First, I'd like to extend a massive thank you to all of you for taking the time out of your day to attend this webinar. We've been absolutely overwhelmed by the positive comments and feedback regarding what we're doing. So I hope we can live up to the expectations and give you a solid insight into Naturally Talented Me, who it will support, and what our plans are for the platform and for the business. Before we crack on, I'd like to thank a few people. I'd like to thank Zoom for their support in enabling this webinar and getting us set up. Great support from you guys. Thank you so much. Absolutely our talent patrons and panelists for their time, their contribution and support. And you'll meet them shortly as I introduce them. And everybody at Clockwise Marketing who's helped pull this together over the last few weeks. It's been a sterling effort by everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody. In terms of the agenda for today, I'll give you a brief intro into the purpose of the platform and then pass on to Nikki, who will talk about the specific communities that we support. We'll then hear from our panelists and get different perspectives on the power of natural talents from their experiences, which I assure you are diverse and intriguing. And then we'll close with a plea for support and what we'd love you to be able to do from an ongoing promotion point of view. So whilst as people attending, you're not actually seen or heard by others, which some of you may be grateful for, some not, I would encourage you to submit questions via the chat function, which you should find on the right-hand side. And we'll try and answer as many of them as possible during the session. But if time restricts us, we'll follow up with an answer and circulate that to all of you after the event, if that's okay. So very briefly, Naturally Talented Me has been set up as a community interest company, which means that at least 65% of the profits that we generate are reinvested into the business and the communities that we support. So that will drive much needed funding into the communities and intervention programs at the heart of this idea. And that's why we've also created the NTM platform as a free solution for all individuals looking for work to enable us to support everyone, no matter what age, background, or circumstance. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an insight into what the platform's for. And I'll pass over to Nikki now to talk about the communities and the timing. Thanks, Nikki.
No problem. Hi, very welcome. Very, very, very welcome to such a great event for us. And you're probably also thinking, well, why are you doing something like this at this particular time? And I think that's quite a key question, because a lot of you will be thinking, well, you know, it's not maybe quite right because of the challenging situations that we have. But in fact, actually, that is the key driver for us doing this today. We realise that COVID-19 is causing more problems the more are visible behind the scenes. There's a lot of people who are being displaced. We're saying in thousands, but that could be millions. And we've recognized that a lot of these people are going to have to suddenly reinvent themselves. They're going to have to find themselves down new career paths. And a lot of people have been in their jobs for a very, very long time and are suddenly going, well, I don't know where I'm going now. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with my future. And that's just one of the reasons why we've launched Naturally Talented Me, because initially our program was focusing very much on those that were furthest from the job market. And in fact, those people now, those people in those communities such as SEND, disadvantaged, NEETs, we've also got ex-offenders, ex-military, older workers. There's a whole raft of people who were already furthest from the job market. And in fact, they're even further now than they were before. And so what we wanted to do is to actually give people that kind of belief in themselves that there is actually something that they can bring to the table. And that's why this is all about natural talents. And the platform can be used in a number of different ways. And this is part of our crowdfunding to enable us to deliver this. Individuals, so that they stand out in the crowd, so that it actually gives you the ability to understand your talents and how you can portray those to an employer, how important they are to show your potential. We are looking at supporting with employers. There's multiple different ways that we can do that. That could be employers who want to reevaluate their staff. They might want to look at the natural talents they have within their business to realign those to the new ways of working. Or it could be employers looking for new staff and actually having such an array of choice available to them because there's so many more people on the job market. We want to be able to support those who need to get recognised. And so therefore we've widened this out now today so that we can encompass all of those people. And also I think one of the other things that we haven't seen much about is around schools. There's a lot of people within schools, a lot of individuals within schools who are now thinking, well, I don't know where my education is going to take me. I don't know what choices are going to be available to me. So they're just some of the audiences. And I think the other ones that are very key for us, and some of those are here today, are the intervention organisations, those people who support candidates who are in those categories. They may be disadvantaged, they may be displaced for various different reasons. And we really felt that it was important to support those organisations now by giving them something to support their candidates, to help them understand that they do still have value and there is a place for them in society today. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. But on that note, I'm going to hand back to Nick.
Thanks, Nikki. That's a great summary. Thanks so much. So without further ado, as you say, I'm delighted to introduce John Peters. Some of you will already know his name, but many more will remember the harrowing pictures of him and his navigator, beaten and bloodied and being paraded in front of the world's press by Saddam Hussein's troops in the Gulf War. And his take on the power of natural talents is sure to be fascinating. So it would be great to hear from John. I'm going to hand over to him now.
Thanks, Nick. And it's a real pleasure to be here to support an exciting launch, certainly at this time. It's great to have some good news rather than what we get on the news at the moment. And for those who probably don't recognize me, I was on the news, 29 years ago. If you remember the first Gulf War, and the bombs and bullets going off in Baghdad, well, unfortunately, I was the other end. It does mean, if you remember, though, you're old. So for the younger ones, look on History Channel. I was a fighter pilot in the British Royal Air Force. I was flying a Tornado, and I was shot down by anti-aircraft guns, and a missile went up my right-hand engine. I then ejected in the desert, was captured by soldiers, buried in the sand by machine gun fire, and then spent 7 weeks as a prisoner of war, being tortured. I lost over 2 stone in weight, and I was beaten with baseball bats, rubber truncheons. They set my hair on fire, and I was blown up 6 times. And that was pretty relentless. So, but I don't look at the experience negatively. Really, as a prisoner of war at the extremes, I found some instinctive talents and strengths that I didn't realize I had. What did I discover? Confidence. I found an independence. And I also found out that I was a lot more resilient than I believed before I got shot down. And then that was exaggerated by, I went from this black box of solitary confinement to a white light. I was exposed to mass media attention. And I realized the perception of me had changed. So I returned to thousands of letters from people who'd been abused. And therefore I could no longer be just the fighter pilot. I had to develop other talents where, you know, compassion, empathy, and an acceptance of sharing vulnerability. So in many respects, the media exposure gave me a voice and an opportunity. And I wouldn't recommend the method, by the way, but the idea of finding out true talents. And that's why I support Naturally Talented Me, because I want to give people a voice, and this does give people a voice. I mean, obviously much of what I got from the military, but the military employs or attracts people with character, will, and they want effective intelligence. They're not looking for absolute qualifications, because they can train the skills. And so what I, like many service veterans, but I look around at the stunning service veterans that I meet, and they get somewhat stereotyped. And many of them have really serious talents that have nothing to do with their previous roles. And I think businesses would really benefit from having access to these characters. And so they get the skills and qualities, they get the right stuff. And from my business career, since I've been in business for 20 years now, I look for character. I frequently meet and admire people who are just naturally, innately talented. I'm envious of them. I love seeing people who are naturally good at what they do. So I'm really excited today, actually, about supporting Naturally Talented Me's and how they can almost change, I hope, the way that employers see and attract different types of characters. Because if the businesses always employ from the same pool, they will always get the same answers. And surely this COVID at the moment is showing us we need different answers. If you employ different people, you'll get a more diverse group of people, you're from a diverse background, and you'll get a more diverse culture, which means you'll get better solutions. So that's why I'm here. Naturally Talented Me gives people a voice. It gives them an opportunity to show their natural talent. And I see real benefit on people understanding their strengths. And through the profiling, now I'm now a performance coach, and I'm accredited in very many psychometric profiles. And let me tell you, I think this profile is really good. It's easy, it's fun, actually, and a lot of psychometrics are not fun. And I think it's really insightful. So they got my profile perfect, really. Let me say the obvious. Obviously, the obvious I got would, as you'd expect from a former military fighter pilot, it was determined, adventurous, and single-minded. But one of the things that frustrates me is, like many of my military friends, they don't expose the other things. So it's free thinking, devoted. I got imaginative and independent. So those things are great, because I really think that reveals the true me. So please do not go away thinking I'm a damaged human being from my experience. I wouldn't recommend the method. But do you know how much confidence and experience like this gave me? It's very much along the lines of Nietzsche. That which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I really recommend this to people who are maybe lost in their careers, want to change their path. Actually, do the profile, discover something, and get yourself a voice, and you too can establish yourself on a new path. So it's a great pleasure to be here, and you've got some stunning people that are on the video here, and I'm sure you look forward to hearing their stories. Thanks very much.
Thank you, John. That was a great summary, a great insight. As you say, you don't recommend the method, and absolutely, but some really useful insights for us. I'd like to pass now on to another military man who's experienced his own huge personal challenges and traumas. And over the time I've got to know him, I can say he is a real, genuine inspiration and a thoroughly driven individual. So really looking forward to hearing his thinking. I'm going to introduce Darren Hardy. Thank you, Darren. unmute you first. Okay. Good to go.
Cool. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for having me, Nick. It's been a pleasure the last couple of weeks to get to know you and discover really what Naturally Talented Me is all about. And as John said, it's a big advocate for the military people coming out of the services and not being recognised for their talents and sort of being tarred with the same brush. We can make a difference to businesses, and by doing the platform like Naturally Talented Me to discover exactly what's there is fantastic, and that's why I wanted to support and help sort of sponsor the Inspire quality. My story is I grew up in Northern Ireland. I joined the military just turning 17. Joined the Royal Engineers, posted basically all over the world. A couple of tours of Iraq, Northern Ireland. And unfortunately, in one of my tours, I was injured through a bomb, in essence. But that's not the biggest problem. Is 2006, a helicopter was shot down in Iraq over Basra, and it was we were the quick reaction force, the QRF, to go out and clear up the mess of a 27-hour operation, what was only supposed to last 2 to 3 hours, and recovering minimal body parts from 5 people is something that never really affected me at the time. I was 20 years old. And then I went on to commission from the ranks, and I was in Canada on a training exercise, and a soldier fell into the fire, and it was sort of us that saved her life. And it was the smell that triggered something that happened 9 years ago in my life. And there was a change in me as a person, to my friends, to my family. I call it, I imploded rather than exploded, unless I was out and about, and then I exploded. And it wasn't a very healthy scenario to be in, and I was very out of character, and that's when I sort of sought help through Help for Heroes. And then obviously I set up a company called Fortitude Front, which is sort of keynote speaking to inspire other people, and find I went from a point in 2018 of being calling it a day, if you want to call it. I had everything planned out and what to do, but I've got two beautiful daughters that sort of, and my wife that sort of said, I've obviously thought about them, and I was like, no, I can't do this for them. I grew up with no dad until I was adopted, so so I didn't want that for them. So I had to change something about it. I had to do something about it and own it, and as well, the recognition was there, and then I had to own what it was, and then take a step and do the action, and that's exactly what I did. And over this past year and a half, that's when I've sort of gone around schools and businesses and done keynote speaking and telling them my story, and say it's not actually all about what you think it is, and do what you want to do, and get in comms with something like Naturally Talented Me, and work out what you're really passionate about and what you really want to do, and do it if you can. And it's exactly what I did. And I'm a big believer in sort of vision, mindset, execute, and then that's what I talk about. So if you visualize in something, you just got to get in the right mindset. And how do you unlock that piece of mindset to go and execute it well, and execute it at the best of your ability? There's that. There's a daily routine that I've set with myself that sets me up right for the day. I get up at 04:20 and I go and thrash myself in the gym, in essence, or running or something, whatever I can do in the limitations with the replaced shoulder. And that puts me, I like being in this comfort place, because it reminds me, one, that I'm living, and two, that how far will my body go? And I don't believe you can grow unless you push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And then the last piece is doing the basics well and doing them correct. So never forget the sort of basics. And when I did the profile of Naturally Talented Me, it brought out your typical military one: independent, determined, adventurous, energetic, focused a lot. But there was a couple of the free thinking ones that chucked out, and the curious. And the free thinking, I think, is for me more related to stepping back and having a condor moment, and stepping outside the box and thinking a different way of how it's really should be done. And I just 2 weeks ago completed a world first, which was a 75-mile run with 35 pounds on my back on a treadmill in a tent in darkness, to see what my body would react. And at the 51-mile point, it didn't react very well. And that's when I had to start thinking differently, and how am I going to, no plan survives contact, and how am I going to attack this differently, and getting a different mindset to execute. And that's really it in essence. And I continue to do that and inspire. I'm actually off tonight to do another little project and working with Nick on other future projects. And yeah, it's going well, and my book will be released in the next 6 months, hopefully, and it's yeah, all good.
Great.
I probably forgot to mention as well, I got diagnosed with a PTSD, yeah, so, yeah, yeah, and I'm at the point, you know, of saying really PTSD is maybe one of the best things happened to me, because I'm starting to help other people, and that's really what I inspired to do, and giving back to the charities that I do as well.
Thank you, Darren. That's again a really fascinating insight. We've heard from two individuals, both from the same apparent background, but both so very different, and that's really the point. Not all military people are the same, and they certainly don't have the same personalities. And what I'd like to just quickly show you is what a profile might look like. This is another individual who I've got to know quite well over the last few weeks and months. And I just want to show you what his profile looks like when he's built it. So it gives you a bit of an idea of what the outputs are of this platform. So bear with me just whilst I share my screen. So hopefully you can, if somebody can just give me the nods up. Darren, can you see that? So this is Tony. Tony's an ex-military. Tony is a lovely guy. This is not where he lives, by the way. Obviously for GDPR, we've changed that. But he's a great individual. He's very talented at what he does. He wouldn't mind me saying he probably looks like a military man. But there's so much more behind Tony than maybe you would perceive as an ex-Special Forces individual. So when Tony built his profile, I think even he was surprised at some of the things that came out. So this is what yours could look like. You have the opportunity to put a statement, which Tony has done very fluently and articulately. And then it pulls out, by choosing your hobbies and your interests from the drop downs and from the pictures within the platform, it pulls out your key top talents. And alongside those, you can put some commentary just to really evidence why those particular talents that have been demonstrated are relevant to you. So Tony's put some great descriptive content alongside his own natural attributes here. And then the real thing that brings it to life, once you have those built into your program, to platform, it builds a word cloud. So you've got a constant reference of what your top talents are and how you can start to harness those to better yourself and to really drive forward with maybe some different talents that you didn't know you had. And then the stuff on the right is the evidence, it's the portfolio, it's the real personality behind the profile. So this is all of Tony's work. So Tony, the ex-military Special Forces guy, is a very talented and creative filmmaker and photographer. And this is what drives him. This is his passion. This is what gets him out of bed in the morning. This is what he would love to be doing. He's great at logistics, great at special protection, but actually getting into filmmaking and creative work is something that would really make him bounce and thrive and be successful. There's some baking in there. There's some stuff in there you probably wouldn't expect, but it is what Tony is, and it's his personality. I won't play the video, but you can host video on here, and that's a great piece that Tony's done, talking about his own natural talents and his take on life. You can store CVs and documentation and other bits and pieces, and you can see there the hobbies and the interests that make up Tony's profile. So that is how it all came about, and below all of that is some other evidence around experiences and education and qualifications, which deliberately we've put towards the bottom, because the focus is around your natural talents and your hobbies and your interests and the softer skills, hence the qualities before qualifications. So hopefully that's given you just a bit of an insight into what it might look like. I'm sure Tony would be delighted if anybody wanted to contact him afterwards and engage him, and by all means contact me, and I'd be absolutely delighted to put you in touch with Tony. So what I'd like to do now is turn attention to a slightly different sector. I'm massively delighted and pleased that both Ben and Cameron have joined us. Ben is the career lead for Sunnydown School in Caterham, which is an amazing school that supports students with autism. And Ben's going to talk to us about his take on Naturally Talented Me and how it can support his students. And then really pleased that Cameron's been able to join us today. He's going to talk about his personal experience of completing his profile and what it means to him and the potential for it. So I'm going to pass over to Ben, and over to you, please, once I can unmute you. Or if you come on, or you can unmute yourself, maybe. There you go. You're good to go.
Yeah. Good afternoon, and thanks, Nick. We are delighted to be joining you on the launch this afternoon, and thrilled to be part of the Naturally Talented Me project as well. So just to give you some context, as you said, I'm a special needs teacher at Sunnydown School, and we work with boys with communication interaction needs. So I have the pleasure of working with currently 83 incredibly unique and talented young men. Now we are an academic school, so all of the boys will leave with traditional GCSEs, but that's not our driving force. So our goal really is to support the boys to be successful in all aspects of their lives, and a big part of that is actually to be able to pursue their dreams and their passions. So, you know, a recent MenCap survey kind of showed the challenges that the SEN sector kind of have, in that 60% of all people kind of surveyed said that they wanted to work. So these are adults with SEN, wanted to be in meaningful employment. But the stark reality is that only 6% are actually in meaningful employment currently. So it shows the challenges. Now, for our boys, CV writing, applications, job interviews, they create anxieties and challenges for all of us. But for anyone with SEN, it's heightened and are particularly difficult things for them. So it's incredibly difficult for anyone with SEN to really get across the potential employers the amazing skills and talents that they have. So this is why that we're so excited by the Naturally Talented Me concept. It's an opportunity really to show them as these unique and wonderful individuals, and break down some of those barriers and some of those, dispel some of those myths that are out there as well. So lots of our Key Stage 4 boys have been creating profiles over the last couple of weeks, and it's really given them confidence that, you know, they're going to be able to potentially show themselves as these well-rounded and talented and unique individuals that they are. So it's an incredible opportunity and a fantastic idea. So we're incredibly excited to be part of it. And I know you're going to hear from one of our talented young men in a second, Cameron. So a big thank you for saying that, Nick. It's been a great to get to know you and get to be part of the project. So
wonderful. Thank you so much, Ben. That's great to hear of how the tool could hopefully enable some of your students. And having been along to the school, I was absolutely blown away as to just their personalities and their aspirations. It was phenomenal. And I'd love to hear from Cameron. You hear enough from me. So Cameron, what's been your experience, if you're happy to share?
So to be honest, I haven't had that long to try it out because I've only really been on it in the last 24 hours. But from what I've experienced, it's very, very good, to be honest. It's a great tool to have, and it has amazing potential for those young men that might not maybe be so academically inclined and might have certain specialist interests, which is sometimes a trait of autism, maybe to be especially interested in art or science, would maybe have a good GCSE score in that area, but perhaps not such good scores in other areas. This would be amazing for them because it would enable them to showcase their personality and their creativity in other ways. So employers maybe employing for an art position would see the art GCSE, and initially, without this opportunity, might just see the other GCSEs and think, high score in art, lower score elsewhere, maybe not so good over the board, might not want to employ them. But with this resource available, it would enable the students to show their talents and their creativity within other areas, maybe not so specific to stereotypical GCSEs, and it would really give employers the chance to see what they could potentially get out of employing someone on the SEN spectrum. It'd be a really good tool. So I went on there myself and I did the selecting the images feature, and to be honest, it was surprisingly accurate because I wasn't expecting to be able for it to be so accurate just from choosing images, but it really was. It had a lot of things down about me. It had the fact that I'm creative, my creative writing and my English and stuff like that. It managed to get down I'm charismatic, which I don't know if I'd agree with that in the sense of promoting myself, but I do enjoy talking to people, and I do enjoy social situations. So I think it's really accurate and very helpful. And that obviously, that feature of being able to have that little snapshot into a person's personality is again vitally important, because in a traditional interview situation, some people with autism would experience anxiety. Personally, social situations don't make me too anxious, but other situations can give me anxiety. So for someone that would struggle with a traditional interview, it's invaluable, honestly, to have that option to get to know your potential person you would employ without having that traditional interview right off the bat. Would mean that if you were to have one, or even without one, you would know them almost to a degree before you got to meet them and have them on the job. So I thought that feature was very helpful. There was a lot of the selecting the hobbies thing is also really important, because for jobs that are very specific, so for example, you could work in the science field, but if you were to be more specific and within that science field you were to work in testing or something like that, there would be certain hobbies that would obviously link into that specific area of that field. So knowing what hobbies people have can also be very helpful. For example, one of my hobbies is I play card games. So if I were to go into a job where maybe planning or tactical thinking was needed, that could be a thing an employer would pick up on, and they would maybe think, whereas otherwise they wouldn't know that about me. That would just be a bit of information that wouldn't even really come up. So again, just it gives employers, rather than giving them what the person has done in context of achievements, it gives them what the person's capable of, what they can do, and what they have done that they otherwise might not know about, that would set them up to do bigger and better things within their chosen job. So it's really good. I've got something I've written down to it. Yeah, it was quite easy to use as well. I like the sort of the stages along the top, so you could easily keep track of where you were. You wouldn't feel like you were confused or out of your depth using it. It was very, very nicely ordered, and it was quite good. And to be honest, I think for me as a person, if I were to use this tool, which I might do, in fact, if I go for a job, maybe get a part-time job if I'm going to college or something similar like that, I think it definitely makes me happier in myself, knowing that if I were to look at going for a job with a particular employer, they'd have that extra information about me to maybe make it easier for them to see what I'd be best suited to do, if I'd be suited to the job. Because I mean, it would be really helpful for me, because I'd be more confident going in knowing that they had an idea of who I was as a person. So yeah.
I tell you what, Cameron, I'm watching Ben in the background as you're talking, and he looks as proud as anything, and I'm not at all surprised. I've had comments coming in on the chat saying, you say that you're not sure about being charismatic. You are 100% fantastic. So you probably should be sitting where I'm sitting, to be honest. That was such a great summary. Thank you so much. It was absolutely perfect. Thank you. We have had a question come in, which is this a psychometric tool? Which is a question I think we've probably been asked before. I'm going to pass over to Nikki. Maybe she can just give us a view on that. Is it a psychometric?
Yeah, we do get quite a lot of people confusing the psychometric tool, because I know that there are lots of different tools out there that people use, and I think fundamentally where NTM is coming from is, and Cameron's put it beautifully, is that this isn't about sort of difficult questions. It's not about right or wrong answers. It's not about, you know, trying to think really hard about how should I answer that question. It's all about the flow of starting to think about yourself, starting to think about why your hobbies are important and those interests that you have. Well, why does that make me the person I am? And actually, when you put that into context, it is much more powerful than a psychometric tool, because that can be very much skewed based on perhaps your mindset at the time or what type of situation it's trying to analyze you on. So we want to make it really clear that NTM isn't about, you know, right or wrong. It's not about, you know, have I got the right type of answer in here? It's all about understanding who you naturally are, those natural instincts and passions that you have, and then putting it down onto a piece of paper, which actually isn't a piece of paper anymore. It's a three-dimensional image that actually showcases you as that real person. So please don't confuse it. We do get a lot of people thinking along that line, but this is something I think that's bridging the gap between the kind of CV, the job description, the psychometric. It's that piece in the middle that actually isn't there at the moment.
Cool.
Great. I guess that probably comes on to me now, doesn't it? On that kind of subject area, I wanted to kind of point people in the direction of our lovely intervention organisations who've who've been partnering with us. The reason they're important to us is because they are the communities that we want to be working with and we want to support. So on that note, rather than me waffle on too much longer, I'd like to introduce Henry Glynn from the Change Foundation. And can you unmute him,
There we
Nick?
go. I'm unmuted. Lovely. Thank you, Nikki. Thanks, Nick. That's great. Firstly, before I begin, Cameron, I'd offer you a job tomorrow. Hands down. I don't need to see a traditional CV from you, regardless of what A-levels you achieve. I'm not worried about that. I would offer you a job tomorrow. So maybe, Ben, we can have a separate conversation away from here for some work experience opportunities, which I can help support Cameron with going forward. Right, so my name's Henry Glynn, so I'm head of programs and partnerships at the Change Foundation. So we deliver targeted interventions, recruiting the hardest to reach young people, addressing a variety of challenges that young people face today. So we work with young people throughout London, Newcastle and Birmingham who have a disability, be it visual, learning or physical, or it could be young people involved in gangs and criminality, or young people who have been to prison and now been released. We do a lot of the outside of the gate work in finding and supporting them into employment and sustained employment. So we only deliver long-term interventions, which means we get to know our young people really well, and we happen to use sport as a tool, as a vehicle really to engage the young people we work with. Couple that with personalised mentoring and work-related opportunities, and then hopefully take them from not a great place to a great place. So one thing we found over the years we've worked with, we work with many extremely talented young people, and we've seen firsthand the raw, natural abilities in which they possess. Real genuine kind of diamonds in the rough, as you were, and all we simply do is polish them up a bit. Now, those natural talents and skills and attributes they possess, they aren't things that we give them, we provide them. They're already there. All we do is just bring them to the surface a bit. Now, the brilliant thing which I find about Naturally Talented Me is it's just an incredible platform which enables us as a charity, as an employer, to really highlight our young people's skills, abilities and attributes in such a brilliant way. And it also helps us to connect to potential employers to create wonderful exit routes for the young people we work with. And what it does, I think, really, really well, it helps us to demonstrate to that employer that you're not just going to be employing an average employee here. You're going to be employing someone who can provide your business with massive value for years to come. And we spoke a little bit earlier about that kind of diversity of thought. I think it's so important, so important. And as an employer ourselves, you know, I could give many, many examples of the amount of jobs that I've gone to advert for. We receive hundreds of CVs back. And when you actually the whole you shortlist, should go through a shortlisting process, and you've got your candidates in front of you, and there's just something that's missing. And the CV might read great, and they've got all the academic achievements and whatnot on there, fantastic. But those natural abilities and traits which I'm looking for as an employer, they're not there. So what Naturally Talented Me have done by creating this platform is it just provides such a wonderful, wonderful tool which enables an employer to see all the traits that I want in an employee. We're so keen to continue to be a part of this going forward. And when Nick and Nikki first connected, it kind of blew me away, and it's really something that I think has got such amazing potential to kind of change the game moving forward and help us as a charity, you know, help and support thousands of young people a year into employment. So yeah, we really believe in this, and we're here to stay. And yeah, 100%. If there's people here on this call now, and this connects to you, then yeah, I would really, I'm a massive advocate that you check out the website and look at things further. It's a brilliant tool, and it's something which I think is going to change the game.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. I feel quite heartwarmed, actually, all these great things that are being said. On that note of other kind of organisations, event organisations, I'd like to introduce Ron as well from Transitions UK. I'll apologise for Ron because unfortunately his bandwidth doesn't allow him to talk and to see his mouth moving at the same time. So he's always a little bit behind, but honestly, Ron's thoughts and speech is not any way impaired, because I'm sure you can all cope and manage with it. Nick, could you unmute him for me, please? Ron, welcome.
I'm trying. Come on, Ron. Unmute. Okay.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks for that, Nikki. Actually, story of my life, I've always been a bit behind, but I was going to say we're hearing lots and lots about people having particular gifts, and my gift is that I can speak 6 seconds before my lips move, which is pretty amazing. So I'm founder and chief executive of a charity called Transitions UK. It's a real pleasure to be here. Again, Cameron, you were stunning. Really impressed with that. Thank you so much for that. And I was so encouraged. And it reminded me of so many of the young people that we work with as well, which is fantastic. So particular pleasure to express our partnership as Transitions UK with NTM. And we're really looking forward to working together. We're a 5-year-old charity based in North Herts near Luton Airport, right under the flight path. And we're operating across Herts, Beds, Bucks, and a little bit of North London. And as the name suggests, our mission and the charity is all about helping vulnerable young people make a positive transition from one situation to the other, particularly towards employment, next steps, education, and a positive part in the community. And we work with young people with specific vulnerabilities around learning disability, young people who are leaving care, young people who are at risk of offending or criminal exploitation, and kids that are struggling with mental health and emotional needs. And what we do is we use person-centered mentoring, skills development, life planning tools with those young people to help them to move forward and give them the encouragement, support, and the mechanisms to make the best fist of their lives going forward. So you can see why there's a natural complementarity between Transitions UK and this platform and what NTM are doing, which is great. I have to say that all of our young people have been affected over the last few months by COVID-19, and particularly, I think, lockdown. Some of them have been incredibly anxious about the virus itself and needed particular support around that. Many of them have been cooped up in the house, and for some young people with particular needs, that's an added pressure for them, and it's an added pressure for their families as well. I've been incredibly impressed by our team. They've been incredibly creative and moved all our hands-on face-to-face services onto virtual platforms, and we've been mentoring through FaceTime and WhatsApp video and closed Facebook groups and all sorts of stuff, and we've learned some new skills which I think we're going to continue to use. So I think the partnership with NTM is a wonderful fit, and we're looking forward to collaborating, and I hope that the two organizations can help and benefit each other, and I think we can benefit the young people that we both support. When I'm working and seeing these young people, I'm constantly, taken by the skills, the abilities, the talents they do have, which are not always, obvious at first glance. And so I think this tool is going to help young people tease out their real skills, their real gifts, their real talents, and showcase those, not just to employers, but in many ways to themselves and to the people that they work with, and increase their own confidence. So what I especially like about the tools developed is their emphasis on ability. I think when we were chatting through, I talked disability, and Nick came back and said different ability, which I very much liked. So I'm going to hang on to that. You gave me permission for that, Nick, so I'm going to keep hold of that. But the person-centered approach really, really fits with the way that we work, and I think that's why it will be a very positive partnership. CV development tool is amazing. I was very impressed. I'm looking forward to, I haven't done one myself, but I'll be very interested to see what comes out on that word framework. I'll probably get some surprises, and maybe not such a surprise to those that know me, but maybe a surprise to me. And I think that's also what comes out of this. Young people discover themselves in a way that they don't always see at themselves at first glance, And we are so often just a product of what we're, how people talk to us and relate to us. It's a really very good tool for a bit of inner reflection in terms of who we are and what we can offer to employers and to others. So it's providing a level playing field. It's not just an employability platform. It's very much about helping young people discover themselves and gain the confidence to move forward. So all of the groups that we work with will really benefit from this, and many, many others besides. So I really admire the values behind NTM, and I'm really looking forward to working together. So thank you for the opportunity to be part of today, and I hope we're all going to support this and help it succeed.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you so much for that, and to Henry, and all the amazing comments. We're getting some fabulous comments coming in through the chat. We are running over a little bit, which is absolutely fine. It's great. There's some really interesting things to come. So I hope you can stay with us, everybody. Aiming to be finished by 5 o'clock, but I've got a couple more people I just want to introduce to you, which are really important to us in terms of us as a business and what we're offering. So I want to pass on to Amanda Winder from the Mayor's Construction Academy, who will introduce their involvement and their thinking. And over to you, Amanda. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I'll get used to this in a minute. Okay.
Might
Yes, sorry.
Thanks, Nick. Hi, so I'm Amanda. I'm Hub Coordinator for the Mayor's Construction Academy in London, and I'm Hub Coordinator for one of the hubs, which is headed up by London South Bank University. And within our hub, we also have further education colleges and a private training provider. So the aim of the Mayor's Construction Academy is to inspire a more diverse mix of people to work in the construction sector in order to build more homes for London. Construction sector, as you may or may not know, suffers from a very poor public image and is portrayed as a white male-dominated industry. But it does offer a great range of career opportunities for all, with good earning potential. I've worked in the sector for 20 plus years and absolutely love it. Now, I've come from an HR and training background, so that's how I've worked in the sector. But I think it has great opportunities for a wide range of people and of all abilities. So there are over 150 job roles in construction, a large number of which are professional technical roles. But it's not just all about trade roles, the bricklaying, carpentry, which you may typically think of. There's lots of roles that are involved, office technical based roles. And there are some great women and people from ethnic backgrounds already working in the sector, but we need more. So one of the challenges that we have as a sector is how do we attract a more diverse mix of people? And I see that Naturally Talented Me can really be a tool that can do that. So within construction, there are construction apprenticeships available right from level 2 in your trade level, so with carpentry, bricklaying, paint and decorating, right up to level 6, which is degree level, for people like quantity surveyors, civil engineers, and architecture at level 7. The construction is great because it offers variety and the opportunity to make a difference to the communities in which you're working. So we're working with Naturally Talented Me as we see that it's a great tool to help us attract a more diverse mix of applicants, as it focuses on their natural talents and not the traditional qualifications and experiences. We've heard from John earlier on about how the Army can train skills, similarly with construction. So we're looking for the right talents and behaviours, and we want a diverse mix of ideas and solutions. The construction is all about problem solving, team working, and communication skills. There's a lot of people out there currently at this time that might be thinking about a career change. And they may have, I'm sure they've got great talents, great transferable skills, or there may be those such as Cameron or other people who are starting out on their career journey. but aren't sure which direction to take. Naturally Talented Me can help both these groups of people and more by working with Naturally Talented Me as a talent patron, and we're sponsoring the Problem Solving Talent. We want to open people's eyes to construction and the opportunities it offers. That's me.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you. As you say, construction is probably a little bit misunderstood and possibly maligned. So it's great to get a different take on it. Will, delighted you are with us. No Will for a while. I'm trying to unmute him, which is very unusual to want to do that, but I'm going to give him the platform. You are now live and ready to go. Thank you so much for being with us. Over to you, Will.
It's such a pleasure. Thanks, Nick. And what a panel of fascinating people and stories. So it's terrific to be here. I'm the founder of My Kind of Future. We support people into work and then we help them do well in work. The way we kind of deliver that is we partner with large employers. We partner with around 70 large employers from all different sectors, including National Grid, Tata, Vodafone, Burberry, and many, many more. But really at the heart of it, we operate in related communities to Naturally Talented Me. So I feel I absolutely get it and I love it. To give a tiny bit more flavour of our perspective and our direction, we began by supporting schools and colleges, amazing people like, I'll say it again, Cameron, well done, with a particular focus on those young people from disadvantaged backgrounds. And more recently, that success of our platform has helped us support wider communities of people. And now we also help ex-offenders, returners to work who've perhaps been out from long-term leave, or helping those people retrain into a new role, even if it's with the same employer. So through this experience, I and we absolutely share Naturally Talented Me's belief that more help is needed. And it's heartbreaking really, but especially where a label can cloud the perception of an employer. And we've all seen examples, and probably lots of people on this call have experienced those examples. I want to bring a slightly happier note, and that is working with the clients that we do. Honestly, many more are forward-thinking employers and recognize that people with soft skills as well as varied life experiences make brilliant employees. So in terms of timing for Naturally Talented Me, you're spot on, Nick. It's absolutely the need, but also there's a recognition from employers rather. So that is fantastic. And I happen to think that you, I would embarrass you slightly, you, Nick, as well as Naturally Talented Me, are superb. So if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be you and that platform. I think you and the team bring a fresh approach that is absolutely needed at this time, especially. So in summary, I guess I'm looking forward, My Kind of Future is looking forward to working closely with you and partnering with Naturally Talented Me. There are huge challenges ahead, probably much bigger, Nick, than when you started this, or even a few months ago. The challenges are vast, but equally the opportunities are there to really make an impact. So I'm delighted to partner. I don't know if now is the moment, Nick, but we are signing up as a talent patron, committing some small funds, but hopefully those small funds will help Naturally Talented Me get off to a flying start. And for everyone on the call, you know, I'd urge you all to get behind it and do the same.
Thank you, Will. You took some of the words out of my mouth. I'll take the compliment, but I absolutely will not take it alone. Without Nikki's drive and focus and vision and everything behind it, this wouldn't be where it is. So it is as much, if not more, down to Nikki's vision. On the donation piece, great. Thank you so much. Talent patrons are absolutely welcome, and any donations, and we'll post up the crowdfunding site link in a moment. And it will follow the webinar as a follow-up. But thank you, Will. That was fantastic. We have actually had a question come in, which I think is very relevant, which is how do we make money if we're a community interest company and we're looking to push funding back into those communities? Where does that money come from? So, Nikki, I don't know if you can just give us a bit of insight into that.
Yeah, I'll give a quick overview. So the actual platform, the profiling platform, we wanted it to be free for everybody. And that's the point of this, is that we want everybody to have that opportunity to be able to showcase their abilities. So the commercial side of it, as there normally is in lots of organisations, the commercial side is going to focus very heavily on how we encourage the change in the recruitment type process. So we're looking at talent patrons as supporting us. And that will bring in funding, small amounts of funding to do that. There will be offerings that we're going to make to employers, and that might be that employers want to take the platform and do that as an internal profiling process, as we mentioned before. It could be that they wanted to use it for recruitment, so looking for a more diverse talent pool. Or alternatively, they might just want to post up jobs so that they can actually advertise themselves accordingly. But also, going back to part of our ethos, we're also very heavily focused on that health and well-being side of things. So very much around advertisers who are going to support our communities. And so we're very, very, very blunt about, we don't want advertising that, you know, doesn't conform to that. So on that note, I think it's quite relevant to say that we do have a partner with us at the moment who has been advertising, who does fall very nicely into that category of health and well-being. And I'd like to introduce Nikki Bundock from Currans.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Nick. And I have to say, it's a real inspiration. Again, I know everyone said it, but listening to everyone's stories and what they're doing. And obviously I'm here, and thank you for having me here. But as Nikki said, we have come on as a commercial interest, if you like, and advertising on the Naturally Talented Me website. And just to give you a bit of background, as Nikki said, we manufacture and distribute a 100% natural health and fitness supplement called Currans, which is made from New Zealand black currants, which is underpinned by science. It's highly ethical. We drug test everything, but it has a wide range proven health and fitness benefits, ranging right from immunity and energy, protecting cardiovascular health, and keeping your brain sharp and keeping you healthy as you age. And from a fitness point of view, it stops muscle fatigue, it increases performance, and it increases fat burning, which is always a good thing. So as the first commercial advertiser on the platform, we're really happy to be partnering with NTM as part of their strict ethical advertising stance, promoting physical, mental and emotional well-being of the users of the platform. I think from a company perspective, this partnership provides us with a unique channel to help us educate people on the benefits of our supplement. It won't be a hard sell. It's more about an education. And for us, health and well-being is absolutely key for everybody at every age. And even with a good balanced diet, as we all know, people need some help sometimes in terms of getting all the goodness they need into their bodies. We are a very small business. It's just me and my business partner, and we have strong ethics. We drug test everything, and we believe we have a very good quality product. So we welcome the opportunity to be working with an ethical company that supports people's growth and is set up to give individuals some key opportunities in their career path. So going forward, the way that everyone's described, that you have a pool of people who can put their interests and hobbies, we'll be able to, from a commercial perspective, to be able to target specific groups to educate them on the product. As a small business, again, we're reliant on word of mouth, and this gives us an opportunity to expose the brand to a much wider consumer base who will never have heard of us, because I'm pretty sure most people won't have heard of us because, as I say, we're a small company and we are very reliant on word of mouth. So this for us is a cost-effective way to target a specific group of people on and grow the awareness of the benefits that New Zealand black currants can offer. Thanks.
Thank you, Nikki, and thanks for believing in us early on and joining us as a partner and an advertiser. We're absolutely thrilled to have you. Very conscious of time. You good people have hung in well in terms of our numbers, so I'm really grateful for your staying power. We've just got a final couple of messages to share with you, but what I'd like to do just first is just answer one final question that's come in, which is I know we're here asking for some support. We've just posted up the crowdfunding link, and the question is, what are we going to do with that crowdfunding money, which is an absolutely perfectly reasonable question. And I think Nikki's got a couple of comments on that first, and then I can follow on.
Yeah, I mean, we are reaching out, and that is the whole point. We're ahead of the schedule for our launch for the very reason of the challenges that we've said. But we feel this is the right time to do this, and that's why the reach out is also about crowdfunding. It's about supporting something that you believe in, and we've created our crowdfunding page so that it actually can be viable for everybody. You know, we're not asking for millions of pounds from everybody. What we're asking for is as much as you can possibly do to donate to us. There are lots of different offerings that we have on the crowdfunding page. Nick, do you want to just give a quick highlight of what those are, and then hopefully we can round up and finish things for people?
Absolutely. So there's everything, as Nikki said, right from just an initial personal donation. There's the opportunity for individuals to work with either myself or Nikki or others in the NTM team to help you build your personal profiles. So we can do one-to-one Zoom calls or email correspondence to help you build that profile so it looks really rich. There's employer options around database search, around promoting your employer profile. There's opportunities to be a talent patron, as Will kindly dedicated today. So thank you again for that. And there's a whole raft of them in between and beyond that we'd be delighted to talk to you about, and be very flexible about how we can help and support you as individuals. That would be fantastic. You can find the crowdfunding link. I have posted it up, I think, on the chat, but it's at our website, www.naturallytalentedme.com. And if you go to the funding tab, there's a link directly through to the crowdfunding page. It would be amazing if you did get a chance to share it with peers, friends, colleagues, anybody you think might be interested, and every little bit absolutely counts. So we'd be really grateful. In terms of what we're spending on, we've got a development roadmap that we've built ourselves. We've got a vision for it, but it's absolutely been influenced by everybody on this panel who we've been talking to, and all the people we piloted the platform with, saying, we'd rather it did this, or why doesn't it do that? And I'm absolutely waiting for some comments back from Cameron on what he's found in terms of his experience over the last couple of days, and we'll absolutely bear those in mind. So it's not just us saying this is how it is. It's built up over feedback from everybody who uses it. So we're really grateful for that. I'm just going to share the crowdfund link, the direct one. Somebody's just posted up. Thank you for that. And I'm just going to pass on to a couple of panelists just for any final words that you might have. I don't know if I can start with you, maybe Darren, if you've got any final comments you might have, anything you might want to say. I'm dumping it on you, but anything you might want to say.
Cheers, Nick. Put right in the spot there. No, I just believe in just get out of your comfort zone and push yourself, and you'll amaze yourself what you can do, and follow what you want, follow your passion, and everything else will fall into place.
Fabulous. Thank you for your time. Henry, I don't know if there's any, I'm just picking people randomly, it's really unfair, but if anybody has anything else that they just want to close with.
Yeah, sure. No, I'd just like to follow on from what I was saying earlier. Really, I think this is such a wonderful tool, which is really, really going to make a profound impact on how we operate as a charity and how we can achieve some brilliant outcomes for the young people we work with and support them into employment. Ultimately, we're always looking to get the young people we work with a career, not just a job. And what we've found over the years as well is that the young people who we've supported into employment, for years to come, they're usually still there. And the feedback from the organisations is absolutely brilliant, how they've enriched their business. So that just goes to show the importance of qualities over qualifications in some respects. So yes, honestly, it's a wonderful, brilliant platform, and yeah, massive advocate going forward. And we're so delighted to partner with you guys and be with you for the long run.
Thank you, Henry. And it would be very remiss of me if I didn't reintroduce our shining star of the day, which I think you'll agree is Cameron. Any final words from you?
Well, I just wanted to say to Darren and to John, it's amazing to hear your stories, and honestly, I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing at the moment. It's really inspirational to hear. And also, thanks to all the people in the chat who've said such nice things to me, because I really wasn't expecting it. So, yeah, yeah, just if the people that are still watching, most of you are still here. Thanks for watching. It's been really great to have you guys here as an audience to hear about this platform, because it's such an important one.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Nikki, final word from you. You've heard enough from me, and everybody, thank you so much. But over to you, Nikki, to close it off.
I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that's joined us from all the social media activity that we've been putting out there. So you've probably been bombarded by all of our notes to get you involved. Thank you for coming. Please keep an eye on our website. All the crowdfunding news will be on there. So the more that we get, the more that we can advertise on there, and more that we can tell you about the development. But I did want to say thank you very much. I hope you've all got a glass, because I'd like to say cheers to everybody. And let's see you on the other side of the crowdfunding.
Thank you all. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate it.
Very good.
And enjoy your weekends. Goodbye all.
Thank you. You too. God bless. Bye now.
Bye-bye.